Hey Tracy, thanks for coming on the show today.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to meet you. I've been following you, seeing everything that you've been doing, and it's really great to have you in the studio.
Well, the first time you and I spoke, I knew it was going to be a friendship forever. And so you're right. It's great to finally meet in person and put a name in a face and
Yeah,
shake your hand and be here.
absolutely. Well, it's funny, like, being able to get connected on LinkedIn and how quickly we were able to do this.
It was very quick.
And I love being able to do that because it's like, and that's kind of the power of social media, podcasting, and like mindedness. Because it's like when you were telling me about what you have going on with detection and the new mobile app, it's like, okay, that's really aligned with what I'm doing. And because my show is so broad and it covers a lot in the industry, it's like, that's able like I'm able to dial in a little bit and then showcase what you have. So I love when there's that synergy.
It was definitely a, hour and a half long conversation, the first one we had.
Yes.
So, yeah, I completely agree. There's definitely an energy and a vibe that goes along with hosting podcast and then connecting with people, and we connected.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and like I said, it's a lot of fun for me when people reach out or we get connected and I'm able to see a whole different part of the industry that I wouldn't have necessarily sought out, but being able to really take a deeper dive and get to know what you have, it's like, well, the direction we're moving in the industry is more technology, it's more mobile, but we can be a little bit slow to change in oil and gas.
Imagine
And,
that.
because it's like things have been done a certain way, and then it's like all of a sudden you see this evolution of, hey, we're going to get left behind, but you still have stragglers. You still have people that want things to just stay the way they've always been. And so being able to introduce something that's going to make work more efficient and really get with the times like that's important because as much as I love to preserve the oil field and the culture and you do kind of miss the good old
You
days,
do.
but when we're talking about business and doing better business, and really it's you kind of have to evolve. Like we don't have a choice anymore. And so that's
Yep.
really like a lot of what you're offering with what you have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I joined the company about 3 months ago. EZOps is that simple mobile platform for the oil field to be able to manage all of your core operations. And it's like you said, times are changing, either being pushed by their board of directors to bring efficiencies through technology, plus the younger workforce coming in. So the
Mm-hmm.
times of paper and rework, they're changing. So if we're able to offer something at a reasonable cost, that's not going to impact the bottom line. And in fact, rather than costing, it actually brings efficiencies and they end up producing more profitable wells. So we really want to come in, introduce, for those who are not using digital at all in the field, introduce a digital platform and show the efficiencies it brings and talk about the savings that they'll get so that they do produce more profitable wells.
Right. And that's a good point too about the younger generation. It's a natural evolution.
It is.
It's not just trying to implement something just for the sake of a good product. It's like this is really the way the world is changing in real time, and it's interesting because it's a time in just in our society where you're able to see it play out. We've never been this connected with social media, being able to go live, being able to, just drop something out of thin air, which is what I did with my podcast. And it's like a year and a half ago. It's like, and you can build and grow so quickly, but it's really about, honing in on the right targets, the market, and, what's really going to add the most value. And with me, it felt like, conversation and elevating the oil field through marketing and advertising. But like with what you're saying, not only is it more efficiency for the operation, it's actually saving more money, which will produce
Profitable wells.
more profitable wells.
And I think that's really what we're all trying to get to is how do you not just produce more, but produce more profit on each of those wells. We did some simple calculations just to see what type of efficiencies we could bring. Most of our customers that we already have using the platform, even if they're only using one module, because again, it's a module based platform, you can pick and choose how you want to use it. whether it's HSC or inspections, maintenance. I mean, there's 20 different modules, and on top of that, you can customize whatever module you want. But even the customers using as much as one module, they're saving close to $1 million a year. And that's at a low rate of 3 minutes saved per task. So the time it would take you to walk out to a tank, write the tank level on a piece of paper, come back, type it into a spreadsheet, and let's not forget that you're also then not able to look at instant trending and reporting on that data. And there's no data validation. So the tool itself brings lots of efficiencies. But if we're looking at only 3 minutes per task, easily $1 million worth of savings just in the time savings. But then you can factor in things like unplanned downtime. Because if you're doing inspections and maintenance, then it prevents that unplanned downtime. Plus, it also prevents HSC incidents. So you've got reduced HSC incidents, reduced unplanned downtime, and then just the general time efficiencies and savings. So lots of value that can be added through the mobile app.
Yeah. And, from the time I worked in the field, I know I've told you about this before. I was one of those people walking out into the field and writing down, different levels and checking things. And the amount of time it would take me to do that all day and to do, time and to input information and JSAs and all of that extra paperwork.
Yep.
Where that's taking away from the production.
That's right.
And you could easily be doing something more valuable during that time. And so I can see where over time, obviously, that value adds up in so many different ways. And so your efficiency becomes even tighter because you're able to see things differently.
That's right. Well, and it's not just the time, saved. It's the reporting and the analytics and being able to make better decisions because you can see data instantly. So there's validation on each data point where you set a upper and a lower limit of what that number is supposed to be. And if it's out of that range, instantly you're going to know because it gives you an alert.
Right.
So there's no more reconciliation at the end of the month trying to figure out, okay, where is that bad piece of data? Because it tells you instantly. And then you get your automated reports. So it's all of that efficiency because you're not spending time at the end of the month trying to do reports and analytics and trying to find pieces of data that are bad. So it's all of that factored together.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you can course correct in real time. You're not reflecting on it and thinking like, oh, how can we do better next month? Because, you're already thinking about next month. You're not necessarily spending that much time reflecting on, where we went wrong, how we can do it better. And so being able to do that in real time, you can be more efficient, more productive, and more profitable for that month.
That's right.
So you're ahead of your own curve.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah. And without the downtime, you're producing more faster. So you're producing more faster at a higher profit margin. So it's a win-win for everybody.
It is. And it's just, there's like a ripple effect because it's not just, here's a way to be more organized digitally. It's like, hey, we can run our operation more efficiently, make more money. And it's like you start getting this energy where it's like, where else can we improve? How else can we get better? And like you said, you have multiple modules to where there's different ways that you can implement it. And it's just really like taking a step back and looking at how you can improve your operation without having to scale up, add more staff, because you're able to use the digital tools to make every single step more profitable.
Well, and the ultimate goal is to make it easier for those in the field. So we don't want to take away your job. I know everyone has that fear, and that's not what it's about. It's about making your job easier. Companies have announced layoffs. There's stuff going on always.
Yep.
We've been in the industry a long time, so we've seen the trends. But it's doing more with less because that's the direction we're being pushed. But in addition, we just want to make your job easier. So why do things 2 or 3 times or go to 10 different applications and log into 10 different systems or go into different spreadsheets or use things like WhatsApp to try to manage your business.
Yep.
Because what reporting can you do through WhatsApp?
Right.
Zero. So, again, it's making your life easier, making people accountable, tracking things as they're getting done, making sure that the highest priority items get done first. So, there's an automated task list that you can use to optimize your work by putting the higher priority items first. So, again, there's a digital logbook. So those crew changes and shift changes, you no longer have to go talk to someone to find out what happened. It's documented. So even, the drilling and completions manager or production manager sitting in the office can see what was said during the shift change.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's valuable too, because you know what's going on in the field, everybody's accountable, and you can have conversation without it actually having to take away
That's
from
right.
again, with the productivity, or just, the guys are ready to go home. They don't have to wait around to give the debrief.
That's right.
So and you can look back and reference it. It's all there. I love that. It's, again, with the efficiency and the organization factor, it's like you don't have to remember so much.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. When there's 10,000 things going on and, make your task list, even with, your HSC items or your inspections. Let's say there's a failed inspection. It will automatically create a task then to ensure that that failed inspection gets followed up on so it doesn't create an HSE incident.
Oh,
So,
wow.
oh yeah,
That's
there's
awesome.
loops that create the accountability for things that fail. So it creates the automated follow up that sometimes we get so busy we just don't follow up and then the other things go wrong.
Yeah.
So it does create a connected loop so that the higher priority items get done and that corrective action also gets recorded and then ensures it gets done.
Yeah, no, I definitely, because I always look back on my own work history, and I remember working for one company that couldn't keep up with their truck inspections.
Mm-hmm.
Just couldn't keep up with it. Couldn't keep the right tags on the trucks, couldn't remember what trucks had been inspected or what was wrong with them. And now I don't know that this particular company would have, cared to keep anything organized because it was so fly by night anyway. So you also have to separate that in the industry. Like the companies that are wanting to take their organization to the next level, they're going to want something like this
Right.
because this is a tool that's going to benefit them. But, ones that are not wanting to necessarily invest in being better because we don't really know how long we're going to be here, or this could end tomorrow. And it's like
Right.
you have the different mentalities and mindsets, like, throughout, I mean, there's definitely all ends of the spectrum. But I think there's more and more accountability from the industry requiring you to have certain safety, ISNet
That's
world
right.
and
Yep.
different training and that you have to have in order to be a part of this industry and what we're doing, because we don't need that anymore. There's
Yeah.
better ways of doing business. There's stronger companies that are already leading the charge. And so when we introduce new tools and technology, like you said, it's not about taking anyone's jobs. It's about
No.
raising the bar and asking companies to continue moving forward so that as a whole, as the oil and gas sector, we're producing better, and that I think is going to cut down on waste and just overall disorganization. It's like moving together a little bit more connected because we have to. It's like you said,
That's
with the
right.
younger generation, AI, social media, there's no choice. 10, 20 years ago, yeah, you could have run your business any way that you want. There's a little bit more of an order and structure, it seems like that's happening. So you want to be at the helm of that, and that way you're not having to keep up or catch up with everyone else.
That's right. And, part of what we're trying to do, like you said, is get the industry to a point where we are using digital apps in the field. And we just announced, I guess, last week, our customer advisory board. And that board is made up of 8 to 10 different customers, companies. But the goal is not only for EZOps, the goal is to improve the industry. So we will be addressing industry challenges and barriers to moving to digital, talking about those so that we can help progress the industry. So
Oh, that's cool. That is exciting.
super excited about that board. We're having our first meeting in July, but the goal is to start addressing some of the industry challenges, and not just to improve EZOps as a product, but to improve the industry as a whole.
Wow. It's a large undertaking, but again, with the efficiencies of everything, it really is just having a bigger conversation on a higher level, but with the same, basic system.
Yeah,
Like how to make it better. Where are there the broken links? Where are we still behind? How can we improve? And there's so many small adjustments that you can make, especially with the digital tools,
yeah,
that you can make it so much better for everyone. And
that's right.
it's just a matter of, to have an advisory board that can come together and work together like that. That's very impactful. But to also be able to, have this voice in the industry and say, hey, here are the solutions. Here's many solutions,
That's right.
from a very small degree to, an all encompassing, redevelopment, basically, where you can have your entire operation
That's right.
digitally managed, and for you to be able to break it down the way that you do. Like you said, it's like from one module to several. What's right for your company? Where are you at on your journey? I've worked with multiple businesses where I've been blown away by what they've implemented as far as keeping track of their employees and who needs safety training, and again with equipment
Yep,
or truck inspections. Like, I mean, the small things,
that's right.
it all adds up. And so when you have someone that's trying to chase the information, that person could be more valuable, but you would never be able to even stop to think about different types of training because the entire organization is run like that. So when an advisory board comes together, you're on that level of looking at the entire industry, but you could apply that to every level.
That's right. And we'll have 10 different customers in the room. The interesting thing is that each of those customers are using it differently.
Mm.
So you may have some who are only using it to manage their corporate HSC. You have some who are using it to manage their entire field operations. Some are only using the ticketing and hauling module because their focus is water and they have a huge problem with water hauling management.
Mm.
And so instead of having a group of 10 people to manage their water, they now have a digital application because it creates a single ticket, which means that the load volumes don't change from the entire process all the way to the invoice going out. So each of those 10 are going to learn each of the journeys they've been on because they're all using it differently.
Okay.
So even in the room, we're going to have lots of conversation
Exactly.
talking about how they're applying digital to improve their own processes.
That's exciting. And again, because the oil and gas industry, it's just this matrix where we're all connected, some directly and some like so far apart like you may never cross paths. But to have all of those different voices and experiences, like, one, that speaks volumes on being able to be that connected, but also being able to kind of share ideas and a little bit of the success behind
Yep,
each application, in seeing like where you can see in the industry like where it's going to best serve.
that's right. That's right. So it's going to be interesting getting them all in the room. And in addition to that, though, we will learn pain points and they will talk amongst each other about pain points so that our product development roadmap will reflect to solve some of those challenges. So, whether it's new modules, new forms, new fields, it's going to be interesting to hear what comes out of it. But the great thing is, it is a single platform. So, regardless of what additional modules get added, you don't go out and buy a new product and now you have another login that you have to
Yeah.
go into. It's not a separate product. So, again, a single platform for all of the different modules for you to be able to manage your field in a digital way.
Yeah, I love that. And, getting everybody together and being able to constantly improve and provide feedback and update, like that just it seems like it's a really great process of building off of what's already working
Yeah,
and providing an even better product. But and I think you were telling me before, like you're pretty much all across the U.S. and into Canada with this
that's right. That's right.
platform.
That's right. We have customers throughout the U.S., a lot of customers in Canada. Our goal, though, for this year is to further grow our audience in the Permian, in the other basins across the U.S. We really want to see growth with the EZOps platform, and so we're pushing things in the Permian. We have a demo and dinner coming up June 24th in the Permian, on the 26th in Denver. So anyone interested in the product is welcome to come and join us. We'll buy you dinner. And you can see the product firsthand, ask questions. We'll have our product champion there, some of our salespeople. So exciting times. But again, our goal right now is promoting EZOps, especially in the U.S., and really getting it ingrained in how business is done in the field.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely targeting the Permian because it's, I mean, the mecca of the oil
It
field in
is.
the US. And I mean, we can be a little behind the times when it comes to West Texas because the way work has always been done, it's just kind of, you figure it out as you go along. And
Yeah,
so trying to implement more digital and more technology. And I mean, I've personally seen a lot of growth. And I think that you see a lot of companies that are rising up and doing such a great job. And a lot of that is the organization and implementing different tools to make their businesses run smoother and to be
yeah,
held more accountable again with their own operation and being able to grow internally because
that's
it's
right.
you've got different factors that you're focused on when you're running a business in the oil field. You want to stay working. I mean, we're always in this cyclical boom and bust and
We are.
worrisome times, but you're trying to get new customers and trying to get MSAs with new operators. And so really being able to also on the back end really strengthen your internal team and make it stronger. That's going to really put you ahead of the curve and ahead of your competitors because you're so solid within your company in how things are done that you're not having to constantly figure things out while managing the external stress of
That's
things
right.
outside your control.
That's right. That's right. It brings another level of management through the tool itself. And what's interesting right now is we're seeing that the field seems more empowered to make recommendations on how to make things more efficient. So if their voice comes out saying, hey, there's a new digital app and we really think that it's going to help the field, the buyer, the one with the actual budget to purchase the technology, they're listening because they know if they're promoting this product, they're going to use it. So let's give them something to enable them to be more efficient in how they're managing their operations.
Yeah.
And so it's been this, two-sided purchase with those in the field making the recommendation because they're the ones using the product and it impacts their operations, along with whoever has the buying power to be able to actually make the purchase.
Right.
So it's been an interesting time to see how digital now ironically is being pushed from the field operations because they need
Yeah.
help. They want to make things better and easier for them to manage.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And you're right because I mean, boots on the ground. It's like I'm, giving my personal testimony like, yes, I can remember those days when I was working in the field office and it would have been so nice to have all of that more digital, not
Right.
like just pen and paper and making because I mean you don't even have the accountability of remembering if you've done it or not.
Right.
You physically have to kind of go back into that logbook or, remind yourself. And I mean, there isn't like, I mean, everything I do for my podcast essentially at this, besides recording the actual show, most of it is done on my phone. That is, I mean, such a unique way to
Right.
be managing my own, business and platform. But it's also kind of where we're at.
It
Like
is.
it's not like I'm the only one doing that. It's like once
No.
I realized, okay, I can use this app for my editing, this app for invoices and everything that I do, and being able to connect through social media and email. It's like, all right, like, yeah, maybe we have a lot of technology that we're trying to digest at once, but at the same time, figure out what works for you. It makes your life more efficient and manageable, and you can be more successful.
100%. It's enablement in the field. So we are, complementing the other systems that are there. If they're using SCADA devices to pull data, then we're only absorbing that data into the mobile app. But they now have the power of the phone in their hand at the time they need it in the field to be able to do what they need to do. Whether it's an HSE incident, they can go take a picture, upload it in that ticket on their phone instantly when things happen. SCADA data can be pulled in. At the same time, that data can also be pulled back out into any back office system. So whether you're using like an IBM Maximo or SAP, again, it's the front end enablement to get that data into the back office.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. The communication, it's interesting too, because the communication from the field to the office can get dropped and or it just doesn't happen. And so to be able to communicate
Yep.
like that again in real time and with such detail and not having to figure things out, like having that in between, it's like really strengthening the communication.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, it was funny. We were in a potential customer's office, and so of course they kick off the meeting like we always do in the oil field with a safety moment. And the safety moment was a valve that had blown up and then caused downtime. Everything had to be shut down because they had to go find a new valve and replace it. And we're like, you just basically created the value proposition for our product.
Oh, interesting. Yep.
Because had you been using it, the failed inspection that happened 6 months ago and then the valve was never replaced, it would have kicked off a task to ensure that that valve was replaced, which would have then prevented the HSC incident. So it was interesting that their safety moment created the value prop for our product.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, what an interesting moment. And it spoke for itself.
It
You
did.
know, I mean, it definitely
It
speaks for
did.
itself. That, I mean, that because that is going to prevent accidents by having that kind of accountability with
That's right.
inspections.
You
And
schedule the inspections, you have maintenance that's scheduled through there. It's tied to a task list that gets optimized with a priority. So, as long as you are in the app and you do the work assigned to you, then things like that shouldn't fall through the cracks, which then create downtime or an HSE incident. So
yeah.
it's just an easier way, more efficient way to manage
Oh, yeah.
your field.
Yeah, and I mean, I've definitely, and I'm assuming there's probably something available as far as like having equipment on rent that you can keep up with, or manage like what you have in the field. I've seen many instances where a piece of equipment was left on rent in the field that was no longer being used. Everybody just forgot that it was there. Meanwhile, you're paying these day
That's right.
rates for how long? And I've caught it more than once. I'm like, are we still using that man lift? Are we still needing, because it's like we only needed that for, some tie-in or, something in the pipe rack. And then there it's going to sit over the holiday weekend.
Right.
So, again, with it's like just that's your form of communication where
Mm-hmm.
people don't have to remember and that you're going to have even more savings from something like that.
100%. That's exactly right. Create a task, return.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, maybe it's somebody's job to remember to put the task in, but you're going to save money by having that and not just, oh, we just need to remember that we have that piece of equipment. When you have, 5 different projects running, you're not going to remember that.
No, you're not.
And also, like, you shouldn't have to remember so much.
That's
It's like
right.
just set the alarm or set the date or like whatever you've got to do. And, then it's again with just managing your field, whatever that may be.
That's right. I need one to manage my personal life and kids
Right?
because we need the app for home too. But
I believe that. I mean, because there's a lot to keep up with, in your daily life. But I
there
can,
is.
well, and speaking of, I can see where like this is a little bit more of a natural alignment for you because you said that you've been in oil and gas for many years, in
30.
30 years.
30
It's
years.
hard to
But I mean,
believe,
I know, but yes. 30
but
years.
in on the technology side.
Almost all of it was focused on technology within the oil and gas space. Yes.
I can only imagine what you've seen evolve over 3 decades.
A lot. And it was interesting because there were times where, we were that special project to go and do things. I was on a project called the Digital Asset, but it was digitizing the oil field before the oil field was ready to be digitized. And
Wow, what an
so
undertaking.
it was a fun experience for about 4 years until they pulled the plug on it because it was too complicated at the time. Now things work that way, but being on the forefront of technology, it's interesting what you see, and then 10 years down the road it's like, oh yeah, we did that 10 years ago, but the
Wow,
industry wasn't ready, but they're
for
ready
sure.
now.
Yeah,
So
I could see that. And you've worked, you said all over the world?
I have, actually, up until about 3 years ago, all of my roles were global roles. So I've been in the oil field in India and Saudi and Indonesia. We were drilling our first geothermal wells in Indonesia, which was interesting. So all over the world. I've been in Canada, even in South America a little bit on the mining side. But yeah, I've gotten to see all the great, vacation spots of the world through the oil field. So I've definitely seen different cultures, different ways of working. And now I'm really focused on North America, so Canada and the US.
That's
So,
exciting to have all of that, what you've been able to see and what you've seen like over the years and bring that back in. It's like you know the industry in a very vast way,
yes,
having seen it through a global lens.
that's right.
And then, like you said, you've seen it where we tried to digitize 10 years ago. Hey, we're not quite ready, but now we are. And this is where we're at. So you're really able to bring in your experience, what you've learned, what works, what doesn't. And so you're, really like in a great position, like to be kind of that trailblazer as far as introducing the product and because you know what works and you know what's needed now.
Yeah, well, there's also a way to go about adopting it. You know, the last company I was at, we were doing valve automation in the completion space, and that was an interesting area because companies have to be ready for that. So it can't be you have no digital or automation to go to, let's automate everything.
Right.
It's a journey and there's steps to take in between. And so even with our EZOps platform, the beauty of it is if you have nothing digital, start with one module. Whether it's only your HSC or only your maintenance, or you just want a digital logbook, start slow. And then from there, you can see how it goes and expand beyond that. But a lot of our customers did start with one module and have expanded to manage their entire oil field now through the app. So
Wow.
it's baby steps. We can't expect everybody to go all in at one time.
Yeah, and that makes sense because it's you're implementing it into your business and everybody's at a different in a different space on their
Hmm.
journey. And so it's if you've never done it anything before, it would be completely overwhelming to
100%
just like
overwhelmed.
suddenly everything's automated. But and I see where, it's just like you've been able to kind of see like where it works and or how it works and where and the different cultures and
Hmm.
the Permian Basin such a melting pot of different cultures and different perspectives on things. And so you're really going to meet people at different places on
That's
their
right.
journey. So that's really awesome and just an exciting and valuable asset to have in the oil and gas
It
industry.
is. Even the smaller to mid-sized companies, we're really seeing a lot of uptake now. Um, because for the first time, and I don't know if it's just the changing of the age of the workforce, but people are just very interested in becoming more efficient. Maybe we all have less hours in a day, and
Right.
and we need to become more efficient,
Hmm.
or they are trying to produce more profit in their business, whatever it is. Whether they're a hauler carrying water, or they're the operator managing the field, or the producer. So it's been interesting to see the journeys people are going on, and that even the small to mid-sized operators are wanting to understand the technology and implement a first piece of digital in their fields. So
Yeah.
maybe 2025 is the year of digital
I
in the
think so.
oil
It's
field.
been for me, and I mean, I'll be, the first to say, like, as much as I kept thinking I needed to be doing more, I said, I really, at this point, because I was looking at what I use and my system that I've developed myself, like, I don't need to do more. I need to do better at what I'm doing, and so then I can kind of just take a step back and improve my own quality, and then I can scale. Yeah, or
That's
if
right.
I want to. I mean, it's like I don't really know what my next steps are because, most of what I'm doing is just self-made and, I'm figuring it out as I go along, but it's worked out so far.
You
And
seem to be doing well.
I mean, it's, I really have to say that all my jobs and different endeavors I've had in the oil field, this has been the one that's most aligned with where I can add value and what I can manage on my own. So,
And isn't it amazing that when you're in that space, it's so rewarding?
and completely rewarding. And so it's like I can really dial into my service, the quality, and restructuring, and always trying to do better. And so since I have a weekly show, it's like, okay, every week I check in with myself. I'm like, and I start with my newsletter. I'm like, how's the newsletter going to get better? Sometimes it's not always about scaling up. It's like, well, let me tweak some of the content. Let me add some tags and, do some more aesthetics. And then it's like, then I see my subscriber list grows, and they're the new people that are coming in, they're seeing a higher quality product, and it's the same newsletter. It's still taking me the same amount of time, but I'm able to be more invested in that attention to detail because I've built it, and now it's a
Yeah.
system, and I set my time, and I know what I want to achieve with it. And as far as setting the tone for the week and being able to deliver the content, and the week goes from there. Then I check in with myself at the end of the week. It's like, okay, what worked and what didn't, but I
Right.
also can look at my apps and I can not just self-evaluate. I can The work
It's
speaks for itself.
validated.
It's validated. I'm like, okay, this did not work, but this really did, And so it's like you kind of go back and forth, but being able to have that accountability in that digital format, it's you're really able to grow and evolve more because you're not having to reinvent the wheel. You're not having to go through the paperwork,
Yeah.
and it's everything is right there, right in front of you.
That's right. You've implemented your own EZOps.
I have. I have developed my own. It would have been a lot easier if I would have met you a year and a half ago and I wouldn't have had to come up with the system, but you work with where you're at. It's kind of like you said, you've never done it before. Don't automate everything all at once. I definitely grew into all of it, and I know I'm not done because technology is always evolving, and even upgrading my phone. I remember one time I was starting to have problems with sound, and my clips had they were like slow, and it's like something was wrong with them whenever I would try and upload. I hadn't updated my phone in a while, and it was causing a lot of problems in the quality, and just like trying to format everything, and I spent a lot of time figuring that out. But now I remind myself, like, don't forget
Oh
to
yeah.
do the updates on all the apps, and it was just crazy. That was probably 6 months ago. I've grown quite a bit since then.
My kids remind me. So
That's hey
they're
that
the technology people.
and that's important because it's like things move quickly now with technology, and so you need to have those sharp minds like reminding you like
That's right.
of those things that are only going to make what you're doing better.
That's right. That's right. I would say that the younger workforce is our biggest proponent out there wanting to change, and it's for that very reason. They grew up with a phone in their hand.
Yep.
So anytime you need to know anything about technology, ask a younger person because
Agreed.
they know how to do everything. In fact, you've got 2 and 3 year olds who probably know how to do more than what some of us do.
That is true. That's a good point. But I have to say, Tracy, in 30 years that you've been in the industry, I mean, you've done quite well with not having any digital. I mean, this is obviously before cell phones and technology, like when everything got started. And last year, you were recognized for your achievement in the industry.
I was. I
And
was. It was a very pleasant surprise. One not expected, but the Houston Business Journal recognizes women who mean business in various industries. And so I was one of, I think, 18 that were recognized in energy. And so it's a
wow.
lifetime award. So you only get it once. So my time is over and done.
Wow. That's
But
so exciting,
that
though.
was super exciting times for me. And Yeah. I don't like to feel like I'm the center of attention, but for once I had to sit back and go, I've spent 30 years in this
Yeah,
industry.
well deserved.
I'll take the award and move
Absolutely.
on. But
Yeah, and feel
yeah,
proud of your achievements and, reaching that milestone and being recognized.
yeah.
So that's awesome. And then, I mean, you had a follow-up after that, the cover of what's the name of the magazine?
CIO
CIO
Times.
Times. And
Yes.
that was pretty
That
recent.
was recent. That was the April edition of CIO Times. And yeah, I think it was, they had seen the previous award, and
Okay, yeah.
I was recognized as one of the most influential women changing the industry in 2025.
There you
So,
go. And that's
so
where we are.
let's go
With
easy
Easy
ops
Ops.
and let's go change the industry.
Let's do it. That's so exciting, Tracy. Very inspiring. And I really love hearing your story and also now what you're doing and really, really being on the helm of that change. I do believe 2025 is the year that it's happening.
Well, let's hope so, and let's hope we hit it off in the Permian, and that becomes our big showcase basin. So
Yeah.
that's what we're hoping.
Well, I look forward to supporting that and watching the journey and helping in any way that I can because I do see the value in it and always wanting to find different ways to support the West Texas oil field, the field workers, the ones that are making it happen, and how they can be more connected and support the operation. And that's exactly what you're doing. So I appreciate you coming on the show today and talking about it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Would love to follow up anytime. As I said, anyone interested in actually connecting with us in person will be in Midland on June 24th. So um, I'm sure everyone can find me, reach out on LinkedIn. But
Yeah.
thank you for having me. This has been wonderful.
Thank you. And thank you again. And thank you everyone for watching Power of the Permian. We'll see you next time.